Hi everyone, welcome to lecture 9 of your professional practice module, and this week we'll be talking about negotiating partnerships. This lecture is based on what you need to do or know or navigate through for your presentations. However, I thought that this lecture is also being given in quite an interesting time in our world, where the entire world, or the majority of people who are currently able to work remotely, are also experiencing some of these challenges, negotiating for the first time a kind of global way to navigate oneself through partnerships and getting their tasks done and achieving their goals, meeting their deadlines, working with personalities all remotely. So it's an interesting learning experience. It's been a deep end learning experience, but I think hopefully this lecture will help clarify things you need to know for the presentation, but also some things that you may not have tried before that you can to help tighten or make your partnership relationships a bit better. So what am I covering in this session? Clarification on the partnership presentation. I'm answering some of the questions that I've received from students that might apply generically across for everybody else. I also envisioned some questions that you might have, so this is me anticipating what might be unclear at this point in the module, because by now you would have started thinking at least about what this presentation is about, what do you have to do, how has it changed, and I know that there was some apprehension about do we still need to go through with this, and I'm glad that we are, because it's easier to drop things and not want to pick up the challenge about it, but we've got the time and you are aware you've been given this extension to work through some of this, and I think it would be better at the end of the day to proceed with what we have planned. I'm also going to be talking about working with people remotely, and perhaps I can provide some creative ideas. It's very interesting that a lot of the lectures I've been answering lately, not lectures, questions, sorry, in emails from a variety of students have been about these navigating the skill set to work with each other, to approach people. I've been getting quite a few emails about this isn't working, I've tried this, what do I do now? And I think this is a timely opportunity to address some of this, because I think whether we were face to face, I would still be facing some of these questions as my experience has shown me in the past, but it's interesting in this particular time when you have to do things remotely, the challenge is not quite different. That's the thing about group work, is that you will face the same sorts of challenges that you do when you have to meet people face to face. If members of your group don't turn up, if they don't show up for the presentation day, as some people in my seminar were telling me, people go away and they don't tell their group members, communication isn't shared. So that is true. That happens face to face. That happens when we work with each other in particular spaces all together anyway. So what are some of the challenges when we work with people remotely? Can we apply some of the same problem-solving techniques? Do some of these things work to our advantage? Well, you might be surprised to find that actually working remotely does help a little bit with in terms of being able to communicate with each other. So I'll provide some ideas about what you can do, and I think it's generically going to work a little bit better because you are all working remotely. So no one is disadvantaged by some people being face to face and capturing things in the moment, but because everyone is via correspondence, you would find that we are all held by the same constraints, which sort of gives us some kind of grand equality here. What's expected from you now? So I understand that the presentation submission nature has changed. So how do you know, this is one of the questions that I asked myself, how do you know that you've actually submitted and you're done with the presentation? So I want to clarify those steps for you as well at the end of this talk. So getting on to some of the questions that I anticipated that you might have about the presentation. So approach it like this. The essential ingredients that you need to be doing is that you need to have, you need to know that you will be talking about a theory and you will be talking about professional skills. Okay, so that is the basic, yes, those are the two things absolutely that you will be talking about with your partners. How many theories do I do? Interesting question. So this is up for you and your partners to decide. If you all want to do 2 different theories on the same professional skill and do 2 different theoretical takes or explanations of one skill, that's up to you. If you want to do it the other way and do 2 professional skills and 1 theory, that's also up to you and your partners. Can you repeat the theory from your aspirational portfolio? So I would advise that if you can choose a different theory, do so, because you have all of this content on the theory available on Moodle. We've spent 3 weeks working on each theory individually. I think if you can, then definitely change the theory from your aspirational portfolio to for something different in your presentation. However, if your group is using multiple theories and you've already you're already doing that theory for your aspirational portfolio, then maybe try and work on a different theory within the group. If the group chooses one theory and you're already doing that for your aspirational portfolio, then I mean, that's fine. You can try and talk about something different in the theory or choose different readings that are different to that from your aspirational portfolio. The message here is I don't want you to just repeat exactly what you did for your aspirational portfolio with the same readings and the same sorts of examples in your presentation, because then your learning is a bit cheated. You would not have really demonstrated the full skill set that you can work with. So it would be better, and then also if you got the interpretation marginally wrong, this is the risk in the aspirational portfolio, you don't want to repeat the same errors in the presentation. So it's good to diversify your skill set and talk about different things. And I think, you would have some more time on your hands now to go back to those lectures. They're all on lecture capture, and reacquaint yourself with some of those theories. I hope that clarifies in terms of how many theories you do and how many examples you give. It's up to you and your partners to negotiate that, because it's up to you to decide how you want this presentation to look. And again, how many professional examples? Do you give different examples? Is it about you or not? So does this have to be honest about the profession that you want to choose? If you can, then great. You can challenge yourself to talk about your actual professional skill set that you want to develop. If you have one that you want to develop and you want to apply the theory to that, go for it. If you don't have one but you want to talk about a profession that you know, maybe it's a profession that your parents have, or your carers, or some family member that you see someone struggling with, that you see it's a professional skill, you can use that as well as an example. It doesn't necessarily have to be true to you and your background. If you wanted to, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. Either way, you can even read about a professional skill in your readings and use that as an example as well. Where you get the examples is entirely up to you and your partners. Hopefully that answers some questions about the presentation. Some of the nitty-gritty details. So how many articles should you use? Is there a fixed number? No. How many slides? No, I can't tell you answers to these questions. This again is up for you and your group members to negotiate. Some slides you may just have images that you want to provoke a thought. You may want to just ask a question. It depends on your presentation skill set. How are you getting into the ideas? How are you presenting it? Just aim to not go over 10 minutes. Each group is allocated 10 minutes. Just try and keep your presentation to under that. So this you can discuss with your group as well, how you want to negotiate, how much time each person gets to speak, and what that content can look like. Be creative. Again, this is the full license. We've spoken so much about autonomy on this module. Being able to bring your own personalities, your own design, your own background, so much of your own experience to this. When you are creative, especially when we did the PechaKucha presentations, I think it is so much more beneficial for everyone to see you bring some component of yourself to the table. It's really inspiring, and it helps you really reflect on where you are and what you've learned and apply your knowledge. So absolutely show those creative license skills. Embrace this opportunity to get creative with your partners and put forward a presentation that's really interesting, that you're proud of, a piece of work that you're really proud of. So you have the time to do this, and you are working with others. You can each bring out the best in each other. So think of those creative skills. How can we make this presentation interesting? Always be asking that at the back of your head. How can we make the content relevant and interesting? We are constantly surrounded by TED Talks, by videos that captivate our interest. What can we see about these videos and pattern to make our own work inspiring and interesting? What works? So your partnership presentations, let's get on to this. So by now you would have seen in Moodle, of course, I think almost everyone has gone through who are their group members. You have been put into 2 or 3 person partnerships. Be sure you know the name of your group members, okay? So if you haven't done that yet, you need to do that now. Get acquainted. Getting in touch with them. Now, maybe if you were in the sessions, you might have a face-to-face, but not always do we see everyone that needs to be there. And most likely, everyone would have been put in a partnership with someone they don't know. That was deliberately done. So how do you get in touch with them? Well, it's the same way you would have had to get in touch with them if you were face-to-face. You'd have to send an email. I've given instructions on many occasions about going on your university email, putting the person's name into Outlook, and it should immediately pop up. Or going on the Student Voice, putting the person's name and saying, hey, I'm in your partnership, this is my email, can you contact me please? Now, interesting as well, back to Outlook, do you know that you can put a read receipt? So if you Google how to put a read receipt on my email, then you will know, you'll get an email back when that person has read it. This is just in case they've not been reading their emails. So have a look on how to do that. That is a technique as well. So you get confirmation that they've at least seen your email. And try a one-to-one. So if you're in a 3-person partnership and you're emailing each other as a group and you're not getting any responses, change your technique a bit. Try emailing one person at a time and see if you can get a response back from someone, at least one person in your group. If you can't find your partners, what do? Do you give up on the presentation? No, not at all. Have a plan about what is a contingency plan to proceed. If you've been contacting someone and nobody has been getting back to you, how can you change what you've been doing? So definitely contact your tutor. Let them know how many times you've tried, what you've been doing. This is not a frustrating email. This is more of a I can't find their address, or can I get some help with locating this person? And this is if you've got in touch with no one. Also, you may know someone else on the module. Maybe send them a message and say, do you know this particular person? Have you met everyone in your group? What were some of the things that you tried? Sharing some of our knowledge and our information with each other is a good way, especially what we tried to do, is a good way to help each other out with getting in touch with your partners. So hopefully there I've given you some advice about trying a one-to-one email. And you know, right now in the current situation, many people are maybe carers, or people can be unwell, so we need to be really patient about this. It's not that people are shunning us. It could just be that they've not received the correspondence, they've not checked their university email, or it could also be that they're maybe not well at the moment. So we need to be patient and considerate and persistent a little bit. Don't email them every day, but check in and keep trying. We need to really, really keep trying with each other here. So if you have, on a lighter note, if you have found your partners, excellent. What can you do? Well, I think you guys should set up a WhatsApp group, and I advise that you all should get on Zoom and have a chat, have a play with each other. I've not been hearing a lot of negatives, but I've also not been hearing many positives about things that are working. So perhaps you want to leave me a comment in the video below and let me know if things are working with you and your partners. Have you been able to get onto Zoom? Has it worked? Have you had a play? What's working really well with your group? Do you guys have a catch up? Do you have a coffee? Do you have a glass of wine with each other? What have you been doing that is building your relationship? Now, from basic psychological needs, we would know that building those relationships are very important to having a successful partnership. How are you getting to know each other a little bit better? Working with your partners remotely. So in a professional workspace, you may be assigned tasks where you have to work with people remotely and get the job done, even work with people who are difficult to communicate with. Very likely that in your lifetime and in your work career, you will have to work with one person like this at some point in time. It's interesting because with COVID-19, it's become a real life scenario, and even my friends are all online working with each other and talking about the new sorts of challenges that they face. And I think we're all at that point now reflecting some of the positives and some of the negatives about what works, what doesn't work, but trying really to try different things until we can get a positive outcome, because the reality of the situation is people still have deadlines to meet. We still need to make the world go around, right? In the partnership, say one person, you're in a 3-person partnership, and one person doesn't show up at all. They've not been responding, they've not been replying, but you and the other person want to get on with your work. What should you be doing? Yes, you should be getting on with your work, but this is really important. It's not really within your capacity to say that you've excluded this person from your presentation. If you are in a 3-person partnership and you can't get the third person to communicate, you and your partner need to talk about making a plan. So what are some of the decisions that you need to make to move forward here? And if this person is unwell or the third person gets involved very, very late in the game, what is a contingency that you can still offer for them to be involved? How are you planning to include? Not just planning to exclude, planning to include in the event that the person does show up. It's not really in your partnership call to say this person is not part of our group. This is a tricky skill to negotiate, but I think if you set it out from the beginning and show, make sure and keep your evidence of trying to contact each other, keep your evidence that you've been reaching out, keep them in the loop, in the email loop about your planning so that they know what's going on in the event that they do catch up or check on their emails or something like that happens. You need to be professional about how you're approaching this. Don't just run off with your partner, plan everything, and then before the deadline, this person shows up and says, well, I want to contribute to the group, and you say no. Think of what can you offer the third person so that it doesn't affect what you and the second partner are planning, because according to your task sheet, you each have individual things to achieve and to accomplish. Keep working on what you need to have prepared for yourself and how that would combine with your second partner. And if your third partner came along, how would you be able to make room for them to include their input as well? So just make that plan now. Working through challenges remotely, managing anxiety about the presentation. Sometimes when you send an email out and you're not getting responses, you know, a day may pass, a second day may pass, a third day may pass, and you may be getting very anxious and you may be getting worried about, well, this isn't going anywhere. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Take a deep breath, actively listen to each other. Talk to your friends about it, email your seminar tutor, and you know, not a panic email. Well, any email will do, that's fine, but try not to panic about it. Keep just persistently working through, plan your part of the partnership at least, and keep emailing the other two, including them in it. And if you are not getting someone to collaborate with, and it's been, you know, say the middle of April and you still haven't heard back from anyone, be sure that you have contacted your seminar tutor and say that I'm not hearing from anybody in the group, because maybe we might be able to reallocate you with other people who are also singly stranded off and can't get in touch with each other. But you do need to email your seminar tutor and keep us informed of how things are going, because we won't know otherwise. So definitely stay in touch. On the upside, playing with new software. Google is your friend. You have YouTube support. You can enhance your problem-solving skills. Personally, I am really looking at the positives of teaching remotely. I think it's nice to be able to put these videos up where you can access it at your own time. I think it's really nice to think about what is the message that I want to send out, how I could do this more succinctly, and you know, playing with the software, hearing some of the challenges that people come across. It's been in a way, you know, you can embrace it. You can look for creative solutions. For a lot of stuff with Zoom and personally me having to work through some of the new platforms that I'm using for meetings and whatnot, I've used Google and I've used YouTube as support. And I think I've put a link up on with the partnership support section on Moodle, that Zoom also has their own YouTube channel. So questions that you might have, just go and have a look at a couple of videos. They're really well made, and they show you how to navigate your way through systems. So have an upside. Think about how you can make this really work for you. Might work out really well. You never know. You may even use it again when you don't need to. Facing challenges. So use this opportunity to come up with creative and innovative ways to make efforts to problem solve. You can expand your problem solving skill set. You have some readings this week on romanticizing leadership. In the library, there are books about it. There have been people's self-help books about it as well, managing groups. There are forums on the internet about managing group communication. Just have a look. Source solutions in interesting and different ways, and maybe you can even come on Moodle and make a posting on the student voice section and share it with the rest of people in the cohort. Part of this is also being seen being visually present in a remote environment, which means being confident about posting in the student voice section, putting your name out there. That's fine. You are happy to share this information, and we do this on Twitter and on Instagram and Facebook. We are the most public-facing sharing generation. We put a lot of images of ourselves and what we do and where we go out there into the world. I think putting a post on Moodle about what you've been reading or where you've been finding interesting resources is a forward, progressive way to think, and you need to be confident about doing that. So if you have found something, please do share with the group. This is really good for your engagement, and it will also give you more confidence and ownership and belonging in that space. So in the module, we've understood that the basic needs are for autonomy. I mean, this is a lot of autonomy. You are now responsible for accessing your own learning material here. When you watch your videos, when you do your readings, you've got this complete autonomy of how you are learning. And with your group, you're able to also have autonomy over how this presentation looks. We spoke about relatedness. This is the importance, why you need to get to know each other really well, or at least have a social and get to know your group members. In these times when we're mostly all working from home and isolated, it's nice to have a chat with someone from your class about how things are going. Nice to have just to catch up how things are going in general. It's really, really important that we relate to each other. And the competence part of it, I think, is navigating our way through the technology. So you don't need to generally just have a conversation about what did you have for dinner, or, you know, what can you get at the supermarket. You can have a conversation about what kind of technology you're using, what's been helpful, have you looked at Zoom, should we try getting on Zoom together? Have these kinds of conversations with each other. The more you get familiar with the information, the better and the more confident and competent you're going to feel about doing this remote presentation. And again, I've said a lot about the student voice on Moodle, texting your friend, getting a WhatsApp group going. You all have innovative ways to share solutions, and I want to say a public thank you to the students who participated in a pilot study that I did. Who were very enthusiastic and very helpful, and I think, you know, there were quite a bit of positives just being able to observe them navigate through some of the problem-solving solutions, which they did quite efficiently, quite quickly. You all are the generation that is so acquainted with social media and with using technology in diverse and interesting ways, and really diving into it. So in a way, this should be exciting and hopefully challenging, not too challenging, but challenging enough that you can get something positive out of the experience. So your presentation deadline has been extended to the 12th of May. You would have been informed about this in a message, an email that I sent around. Everyone has to upload their task sheet onto Moodle. So even though you're all just doing one presentation, that task sheet needs to be uploaded, as I said, before 2 p.m. on the 12th of May, okay? The reason is everyone needs to put something up there so that I can allocate you your grade for the group work. If you don't put something up there, I won't be able to give you a grade. So make sure that you are posting your single task sheet onto Turnitin before 2 p.m. on the 12th of May. So make a note of that in your calendar and remind your group members. So everyone has to do their slides and the research and their readings, but when it comes, and you send this to one person who is going to be the host, when it comes to actually recording the presentation, only one person in your group has to do this. And this one student is also going to be the one who would have to post the video to YouTube and do the submission to us, which means email the link, copying the seminar tutor, myself, and the other members of the group. Be sure that when you're emailing that you include the members of your group, because it's a group effort and everyone should be involved in the conversation. So even if you're emailing your seminar tutors about a group question, make sure that you're CCing the other members of the group so that they can be part of the communication as well. It's really important that you keep people posted and informed on what you're doing. So when everyone has uploaded the presentation sheets on Moodle before 2 p.m. on the 12th of May, and that email is sent, you receive the email with the video on YouTube, with the group doing their presentation, your presentation submission is completed. that would be it. You would be done. So those are the things that you need to do. There is support, step-by-step information available on Moodle. Make sure and get acquainted with that information. I think a lot of you have, and it's been really, really clear, because it's been good to hear back from quite a few of you about the steps in terms of following those steps online. So again, I want to thank the students who participated in the pilot study. You have really helped. I think we've been successful in designing a guideline that has helped the other students in the cohort. And this is what I mean about supporting each other, helping each other, posting your questions onto the Moodle forum, so that everyone can see what your query is and maybe have a solution to offer to you that maybe I myself don't know or the tutors don't know yet. So it's nice to have that sharing going on. Leave a comment. So you can leave a comment underneath this video. That's absolutely fine. I mean, it's YouTube. That's one of the brilliant things about it. Let me know what's working with you guys, and how things are going. You are happy to also use Moodle and group chat facilities to keep in touch, and email your seminar tutors. We would love to hear from you. We always like hearing from you, and as I always say, there are many ways to get in touch, and we are just an email away. So have a great day, guys. I hope this lecture helps clarify some of the questions that you may have. Be creative, be forward thinking, be innovative, and have fun with this as best as you can. And most of all, be safe, take care of yourself, and look after each other.